Hi, I'm Reverend Patricia Adams Farmer, and the title of my sermon today is Remember to Remember, based on Psalm 103, verses 1 through 8. Memories are important. As James Barrie, the Scottish writer and creator of Peter Pan, says, God gave us memories so that we might have roses in December. Memory is a gift from God and can be the source of spiritual joy, even in difficult times, or especially in difficult times. Times like these: horrendous fires in the West, climate change out of control, the relentless pandemic, and personal crises as well. These are tough times, and we need a little lift, and Psalm 103 gives us that spiritual lift because it's a hymn of praise and thanksgiving that reminds us in difficult times to remember the good that has happened because of the grace and mercy of God. Yes, we are told in essence, remember to remember. Fortunately, this kind of memory is different from short-term memory. Otherwise, we would all be in trouble. I remember seeing a cartoon of a man standing in front of a banner which said, Short-Term Memory Support Group. Well, as he began his talk, he opened with, I'm sure you're all wondering why you are here. I think we can all relate to that just a bit. Now, memory that the psalm speaks of is not our ability to remember what it was we were looking for in the refrigerator or where we put our car keys, but rather the memory of the past, indelible moments when we experience the goodness of God's love and mercy. These memories we need to relive over and over, for they will help us see through the present crises, and it will buoy us for the future. This kind of remembering is the grace-filled kind, the kind that gives us roses in winter. But there are many kinds of memory, not all of it good. Painful memories are with us too, and to dwell on those can dampen the spirit and create depression or deepen grooves of resentments. But even these memories can be transformed into joy and praise when we see them through the lens of forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, we remember the love and mercy of a forgiving God. So even painful memories can, through the creative transforming work of God, find their way to praise and thanksgiving. In the same way, our collective tragic past needs to be remembered in the context of God's transformation and healing. This very week, we are reminded to remember 9/11. On that day, the names of the dead are spoken, a memorial that reminds us to never forget what happened on that dark and traumatic day. Our national history must be remembered, all of it, the noble parts and the tragic parts, and even the shameful parts, like slavery. All of this we must remember, for it is said those who do not remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Memory is a guide, a source of wisdom, a cautionary tale. But this psalm, Psalm 103, reminds us that memory is also a source of joy and gratitude, and a foundation of psychological and spiritual well-being. It does not discount the tragedies, but remembers the way God has seen us through and helped us transform the darkness. Just take a moment to close your eyes. Close your eyes and remember a time when you were filled with a special joy, a time when you felt deeply loved, forgiven, or simply filled with joy, the joy of being alive. Remember the carefree feelings of childhood play or your first love, an anniversary perhaps, or a family gathering, or holding your child in your arms for the first time. Maybe a time when you accomplished something you were really proud of. There are moments that bear revisiting. That is what the Psalms offers us today. Do not forget, it says. For all these things that you hold dear, those memories that buoy and sustain you, these are memories of God's love and mercy at work in your life. Remember to remember. Remember that God is never the source of evil and suffering. God suffers with us and transforms our sufferings, even our memories. God is the source of all good things. The psalmist begins with the words, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." The word soul is the Hebrew word nephesh, usually translated as soul, but better understood as inmost being, the all of who a person is. There is a sense of being infused to the core of our being with thanksgiving for God's goodness. Memory is a very human thing. Think about it. We are the only species that has conceived of history and has made any attempt to catalog the history for the sake of remembering it. The whale doesn't care about yesterday. The mountain lion is not plagued by regret. A bird does not write books for posterity's sake. Part of what it means to be human is to remember. But put another way, forgetting is inhuman. This is what makes a disease like Alzheimer's so insidious. It attacks the very core of us, the inmost place where we build our identity. Alzheimer's dehumanizes us by eroding our memories. But God remembers when we forget. If the worst should happen, that we lose our memories, all our memories are safe in God's eternal care. And for that, we can be grateful. The psalm reminds us that God desires us to be filled with joy in the divine-human relationship. The first question of the Westminster Shorter Catechism asks, what is the chief end of humanity? The answer, to glorify God and enjoy God forever. To glorify God and enjoy God forever. Our worship and enjoyment of God requires memory. To forget the past is to compromise our ability to glorify God. In Psalm 103, the outburst of praise and awe is integrally related to the past deeds of God. The psalmist remembers the forgiveness, the healing, the redemption, the justice. The psalmist speaks in generalities, but we could fill in these actions with the stories of Israel's past, the journey from Egypt, the wanderings in the desert, the deliverance of the judges, the times of the prophets and the kings. Today, churches serve as the holders of memory. Our churches, especially older churches, literally have remembrances carved into them. In our own church, we have little plaques, little brass plaques with the names of those who have passed to remember. The church building is filled with memories, and that's one reason we miss being in the sanctuary surrounded by these memories. We think of stories. This person made the flower arrangements and is now gone. This person donated a cross that reminded us of our identity as Christians. This person, donated a hymn book. We remember the people who sang and sat next to us. Churches and synagogues and mosques, all these places of religious worship are always filled with stories that remind us of our identity and our past. Keeping church history is important for this very reason. Photo albums, too. To lose the stories of God and God's people is tragic. Stories of God's steadfast love. These are stories to hold and to keep. They remind us that we are always birthing new stories because of God's steadfast love and mercy. They're still generating stories. And so we are given hope by returning to the past. We are reassured that what is lost can be found again. What was born can be reborn. What was dead can be made alive. As we age, we especially need to preserve our memories. and to pass them on to another generation. In Marilyn Robinson's novel Gilead, John Ames, a third-generation congregational minister, has decided to write a long, memory-filled letter to his 7-year-old son. At age 76, this reflective man has been diagnosed with angina pectoris and does not have very long to live. He wants to pass on his faith that has given his life so much meaning, the love that has sprung up from his second marriage to a serious woman much younger than himself, and the forgiveness that has been a challenge to several generations in his family. One of his most vivid memories is a month-long journey he took with his father to find his grandfather's grave in Kansas. And writing down this story, this memory for his son's edification, is a spiritual project for Ames. In doing so, he is heeding the advice given in Deuteronomy 4:9. But take care and watch yourselves closely, so as neither to forget the things your eyes have seen, nor to let them slip from your mind all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and to your children's children. As John Ames discovers, old age is a perfect time in life to slow the flow of experiences and to actively spend some quality time with the standout moments of your life. The standout moments. The moments that you treasure. Writing them down in a letter or a memoir or simply offering them orally or even on a video like this can be a source of joy and inspiration for generations to come. God has given us days filled with meaning and significance, but forgetfulness comes easy to most of us. The Navajos have a chant that goes, "Remember what you have seen, because everything forgotten returns to the circling winds." Yet most of us are so busy and so consumed with our future plans and worries that we forget to savor the blessings and the lessons of our past. And so, during these days of darkness and pandemic, let us remember, to revisit the goodness of God through memory. We may just rediscover in the inmost places of our soul joy and a wellspring of hope. We may find ourselves singing with the psalmist, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me." Amen.